Black Panther, Wakanda Forever has evoked many feelings in me, so we're gonna get into it. Welcome to Voice of the Fat Mantis and my review of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This has the battle of trying to be as good a movie as number one at least, and carry on the legend of Chadwick Boseman, but also memorializing him. And both feats are very hard, as we've seen from Thor: Love and Thunder or some of these other Marvel sequels that we're not exactly loving so much. You can't always have the magic of the earlier ones, and so even someone like Thor has this problem. Can Black Panther do it? I don't know, but at least they still have that really great cast that they had from the first one. Now I'm going to start with the spoiler review, and then I'll give you a little warning when I do my non-spoiler. That's supposed to be in reverse. Before me going further, I'm going to need you to smash that like button, give me a subscribe, and don't forget to keep tuning in to Voices of Fat Mantis. Getting into it. All of this is dependent on how they memorialize Chadwick Boseman. That's what we're all paying for our ticket to see. That's what we really want to understand. And from the moment the movie starts, you're gonna be misty-eyed. And I was misty-eyed. Now, I know I'm kind of a little bitch, and I'm very easily misty-eyed. I'm very emotional when it comes to it. And from the get-go of the movie, I'm feeling feelings, and I'm watching feelings happen and all sorts of things. And when they get to the funeral scene, we do not see his face until 5 minutes in, where they pan up and someone has painted a mural of Chadwick Boseman on the wall. And I just lost it. I just started crying. And it really felt like a real hero had died. Now, in life, he was an actor, and I don't know much about his life. I will say his role as Black Panther, and his role in a lot of things, he was just amazing. And it is just such a shame that we've lost him, and they did a good job. That they do more of it at the end of the film as well. And the question is, how do they hold up when they're not memorializing the actual Black Panther? And the problem is, not that great. This wasn't Marvel's greatest film. It certainly wasn't their worst film, but it is a clunky superhero storyline with a lot of holes, a lot of questionable writing, and just too big a cast. One of my first problems is there's too big a cast, and they even add a couple of characters, particularly Namor, and particularly a certain person in a flying suit of armor, that I wouldn't say they're unnecessary, but deciding to give them plot points and all these things while trying to cater to them, they forgot that the main cast is already 5 people deep. And at this point, I felt like I was watching The Legends of Tomorrow. There's just too many in there, and I need you to slim it down. To be honest, because the mantle of Black Panther is being passed, I would have focused the script mainly on just Shuri and just run with that. And just make sure we know about her and her feelings on what she's going through, and give her a solid story and arc that you could write home about. So there's no question that she is the new Black Panther. Unfortunately, she gets bogged down in a new addition to her character, a sob story about Namor and his people, and all sorts of other subplots that are going on, even subplots with some SHIELD agents or CIA agents that really had nothing to do with anything. You could have cut those characters out, wouldn't have changed the plot in any way, shape, or form. For a movie that's supposed to be an action movie, as we all know, superhero movies, particularly MCU movies, are first and foremost action films. They did not deliver a lot of action, and one of my complaints is that there's too much talking. There are several parts in the movie when they're about to go out there and make things happen and seize the day, and then they're like, wait, before you go, let's talk about something philosophical. And I'm like, no, go and fight. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are complaining about the idea of Shuri taking over the mantle, because can she fight on the level of Black Panther, her brother? Can she do it? They didn't show us that. We understand she is trained, but she needed to have more physical contests before she donned the suit for us to be convinced, okay, she's got this. As a matter of fact, when it came to the final battle, I was wondering why she thought she had this. Not enough action scenes, and actually the action scenes that exist, there isn't any single sequence that I would probably rewind and watch again. You know, a lot of classic movies in the MCU, you could just cut to action scene after action scene because they're so well done. You know, look at Winter Soldier, look at Civil War, look at Endgame, look at Infinity War. These are the classics that are going to live on together. These are movies that are worthy of in the 90s, both good writing and great action. And in terms of action, they had nothing. To be honest, the end action sequence is so undesirable that I would at this point say, with the exception of Black Widow, I would say Marvel has a problem with giving women good action sequences. The final fight was just kind of there. And so ultimately, I'm giving this episode a 75. Not the greatest superhero movie that ever existed. I may have been too hyped, and that's why I'm disappointed, but I am disappointed. Now, we are moving on to our spoiler review. So if you haven't seen it, go out and check it out. And then come back here and keep watching Voice of the Fat Mantis so you can get down to the nitty and the gritty of Wakanda Forever. There's no explanation to Black Panther's death. I understand that they decided to omit it, and I honestly think he should have died in some sort of heroic way. But they decided not to do it. He's sick. They don't say what the sickness is. They don't say how he got the sickness. It's just in the beginning, they're just like, he's dying, and within a minute or two, he was dead. And so they wanted to avoid getting into it, and that is just a mistake from a story point of view. I don't even think that it's about respecting. Maybe they thought it was about respecting him, but at the end of the day, it didn't necessarily respect him more than, say, giving him a death scene. And they decide to kill Angela Bassett's queen later on in the film, making it so we have to go through another sadness, another funeral, more of Shuri's pain, more of the people of Wakanda's pain, and ultimately it almost kind of detracted from the original funeral that we should be really focusing on. It took us an hour and 20 minutes to get to the flood, which unleashes the inciting incident. You shouldn't have to wait an hour and a half of exposition before you get your inciting incident. Her arc, Shuri's, does not start until then, the last hour of the movie, and it was really a little, too late, badly structured script. And you know, another thing I gotta say, which is just utterly unacceptable, no Avengers were at his funeral. I mean, what the hell, man? What was Endgame all about? Wakanda has opened its doors and it may not allow Americans to have vibranium, it may not let strangers come to their land, but they trust the Avengers. The Avengers are not outsiders, they're insiders, and the fact that they couldn't get old man Steve Rogers or Pepper Potts or any of these other people to show up, people who fought alongside him and were some of his dearest friends, is utterly ridiculous and lazy. That was lazy on your part, Marvel. Don't care for that. Next, everything is vibranium and everyone is Iron Man. So because they had a paper-thin reason why the Atlanteans, or should I say the faux-Lanteans, had to fight the Wakandans, they made it be like, well, they have plants that are like heart-shaped herbs, and they have vibranium, and you're all the same, and you all come from a single source. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. It has to do with our fellows over at DCEU. When Zack Snyder was in charge, his original idea was to make both the Amazonians and the Atlanteans offshoots of Kryptonians. The idea would be that in prehistory, Kryptonians would land on Earth and they would colonize Themyscira, and they would also colonize the bottom of the seas, and they would end up just being cousins to, mutated cousins of Kryptonians. Now, this came under fire from fans when they heard this, because they said, why does it have to be from one source? Why do you have to make everything about Superman? This is disgusting. We don't like this. And so they cut that out. They were like, okay, the fans are right. And then Marvel took this idea, brushed it off, blew off the dust, and said, let's reuse this idiotic idea. And so they've given Faux-Lantia and Wakanda similar origins. They're both vibranium-rich nations, and their superpowered origins have similar roots. And I just think it's lazy, and it's not good, and it's lame. Furthermore, they've decided to give everyone and their mother power armor, so now everybody's Iron Man, because apparently Wakanda's just handing out power armor to everybody and their mother. Now, Atlantis, there's no way to talk about it without comparing it to the DCEU's Atlantis. And I gotta say, DC defeats Marvel completely. They certainly showed special effects of undersea city of people down under in this movie. It's just not a place I would want to visit. It's dark, it's murky. Some of the camera work was unsure. You're not sure what you're seeing. It's almost kind of spooky. And when they make the guys talk underwater, they did this crazy weird effect to their voice, which is just unpleasant to listen to. It's absolutely unpleasant. And so I would much rather go to James Wan's undersea Atlantis, where everything is colorful and magical, and it's really the Atlantis of the DCU is the place to be, and the one in this movie was budget and lame. So the hunt for the scientist. So there is a plot problem that I have. So in the beginning, Namor asks the people of Wakanda to go hunt down the scientist who invented a device that would help them find vibranium, because there's no other plot in this series other than vibranium. It's so stupid. And so they are like, yeah, we're going to hunt him down. We'll give him to you. And they know he's going to kill them. And they hunt the person down, and the person turns out to be a black young girl who goes to MIT. And it's suddenly like, we can't hand her over to Namor. She's just a girl. Were you going to hand him over if it was a 40-year-old white dude? Literally, when they're on the phone with the Queen, they're like, we're at MIT, we found the creator of the device. And the Queen actually says, please tell me it's a professor. And they're like, no, it's a student. What does it matter? You would have killed a professor? And what did the professor do other than just build a device? Like, he's just a scientist who just built someone, and someone bought his patent. In the actual case of the story, her patent was stolen. They ripped off her design. But it doesn't matter. Even if he sold it, he's just a guy trying to make money, or a girl trying to make money. And then finally, they have the ill-rooted morality in that example I just gave you at the beginning of the film. But then they have a complete and utter deranged one at the end of the film. It gets to the point where Namor, for no reason, attacks them. He has not a lot of reason to attack another nation. It's true he lost a guard, like one of his guards got killed when they saved Shuri. A conflict he started, mind you. But that's not a proportionate response to flooding a nation. And you literally see children and hardworking class people drowning in a sea of ocean. And he purposely brings the tidal waves to the palace, purposely attacking the Queen, and murders their queen. And then the rest of the movie, M'Baku and everyone's going on about the moralities of having mercy. You had Namor kill her mother. And then you have the audacity to go on about mercy. What? The idea that you think that anyone would be on the same page as you is utterly ridiculous. Anyone who had to write that part of it is a idiot. Plain and simple. And another complaint I have about this is that this plot was already used. In Civil War, the Black Panther, T'Challa, saw his father die before him. And he's bent on revenge, and he goes after the killer, and at the end decides, I'm going to be merciful and not kill him. I'm just going to send him to jail. Okay, that works. In this version, they don't even send the person to jail. He gets to go back and rule his kingdom. That is the most ridiculous, crazy, nonsensical plot I have ever heard in my life. And that is so f***ing offensive. You know, f*** you, Ryan Coogler, and f*** you, Kevin Feige, for putting that on my screen. Finally, the hidden son. So they do this thing to try to, in the final sequences, now they want every Avenger to have a kid nowadays. It's a requirement to have a movie. And they have this thing where he apparently has had a 5-year-old kid this entire time. The explanation was, the mom's like, we did not want him to feel the pressures of the throne, so we'll raise him out of the kingdom. What was the point of the first Black Panther? You took a child who was supposed to be a prince of Wakanda and you threw them out into the gutter. And that's the exact same thing you're doing here. Now, I'm sure the kid's going to be taken care of better than Michael B. Jordan's character was. But still, did he learn nothing from the first episode. Not only that, it is totally out of character for Black Panther to do that. He is all about the royal family. He's all about his duty. He would die for his duty over anything else. Family and the royal, being a royal, is so important to him. And there is literally no way in hell he would not want his son to do the same thing. And to hide them in all places of Haiti. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm actually half Haitian. My mother comes from Haiti. And let me tell you, if there's a choice between living in Haiti and living in the lap of luxury in Wakanda, that is not a question at all. That is ridiculous. And so there you have it. There are my major complaints about this film. My spoiler review just ended up being a fest, as I probably suspected. I am letting out some real feelings right now. I'm really feeling feelings right now. But the real question is, what did you think of it? Please let me know down in the comments. Tell me about your love for Wakanda, or your hate for Atlantis, or whatever, or ultimately what you thought of the film. Remember to smash that like button, give me a subscription, and remember to keep tuning in to Voice of the Fat Mantis for more reviews and shenanigans and analysis of all the nerd news that's fit to print. Until next time, ciao for now.